Well, good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another week's racing here on the Invictus Racing League channel. Tonight it's time for the top tier PS F1 group to go for their penultimate race of the season. There's the champion has already been crowned, as you know, but there's a lot to play for, not least the fact that Ghost is trying to get the outright all-time wins in a season record, and let's see what he can do. He's got 2 races left to go. He didn't fancy his chances at this one, but I'm sure he's still going to give it his best, because it will take the pressure off the final race in Canada. My name is Webbo, here to take you through tonight's race as usual, and as usual, joined in the commentary box by our very own JP. Good evening, JP.
Good evening, Webbo. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. How are you feeling about Invictus Racing League's very first Miami Grand Prix?
Well, it's quite nice. A brand new challenge, obviously new street circuit in retrospect, around the Hard Rock Cafe Arena, I believe it is, isn't it? Or something of that nature. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what the drives go for in terms of the balance of the car, because obviously we've got the really fast section of sector 1 and half sector 2, and then you get into the really nadgery bit where you go like over and under, or an on-ramp, off-ramp, as the Americans call it, and so forth. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of balance the cars have, but ultimately I think we're going to see a safety car, since it is brand new and street-like.
Absolutely. I'm looking for the hidden depths of this circuit, and I'm hoping you've found some in your practice and plans. Apart from being famous for the fake marina painted on the surface of the car park, there are some pretty interesting and unique features here. Running around a stadium is hardly new in street circuits, but it's certainly going to be a bit of a challenge. Nadgery is a fabulous term for that final sector of the racetrack, not one you hear every day, and you heard it here first. Good evening to everybody joining us for the coverage tonight. Good evening. Some of our drivers are first in the chat as everybody warms up. It's Smoke, Ghost, and Felix. And good evening to Jinx, who joins us as one of the ERT team here to support. I think I'm expecting ERT and NSX to be well represented tonight. I was talking up Ghost's chances here of trying at least to make that 10th and record win of number of wins in a season in the top tier racing here, but this challenge has got significantly harder in the last 3 races of the season, JP, with the addition of these new drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw last week Stinos' pace round Abu Dhabi, along with Nipros. Definitely one to challenge Ghost, and it'd be interesting. Hopefully they stick around for next season, because I think Ghost might have a real challenge on his hands to defend the crown next season, which will probably be after Christmas.
I would imagine so. Good evening to Dreamer Part, who's predicting a Stefan win, making light work of it. And the big news here from Smoke already in tonight's race is that while it looks to be a beautiful Miami balmy day for qualifying, we are due some proper Florida rain as well, so this should be a very, very interesting prospect. A slippery, nadgery track, JP, just got all the more difficult.
Yeah, that is going to make setup even more crucial around this circuit, but as per normal, ARL is our first customer on track, and he's the only one on track so far, until it looks like Felix is on his way out along with Nipro in the McLaren.
Obviously, he's spent so much time practicing, he hasn't remembered to take off his home race special helmet for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix there. He's still rocking that one. Hasn't come up with a colour scheme for the Miami Grand Prix. There's a certain amount of colours you're allowed to use. Neon pink and neon turquoise, I think, are pretty much the nailed-on Miami colours. He's heading down the long, I don't know if we can call it the third straight, or the longest, or the straightest straight, or the or the straight at the north of the circuit in the final sector, but we'll figure out a word for it as JP ARL's about to tackle that first flying lap.
Yeah, 5.4 kilometres long, 19 corners, 12 to the left, 7 to the right. The first of them a hairpin right. Hit the brakes, coast it in, gradually pick up the throttle, turn 2 and 3. You've got to be very careful. The back end will slide up through here, especially as it opens up. Down towards 4, 5 and 6, they come at you in very quick succession, and you've got to be tight on every little apex to get the best out of each corner. And they're out just sliding a little bit as he goes through 7 and the tightening part of 8. Flick it to the right, flick it to the left, no corner numbers for that one. And then turn 9, just flat right-hander. Turn 10, the DRS zone, flat left as you head down the first of the overtaking opportunities on this lap with the DRS. Tight hairpin left of 11, 12, really long corner that just tightens on the exit. And I'd say the line isn't too bad, but it could be better as you head into this 13, 14, 15 Nadgery chicane. 16, 90-degree left-hander as you head onto the back straight. DRS will be open soon. Again, this is another great opportunity for overtaking. Massive long straight. The speed trap is actually also down here as well. Turn 17, hairpin left, pick your braking point. Stick to it. A little bit wide of the apex, which means he's kind of compromised the exit there for ARL, but it's flat left and right through 18 and 19. Sometimes you want to hook that curve for a shorter run to the line. And a 1:28.2 for ARL opens up the lap times here in Miami.
Fantastic stuff, absolutely. That third sector underneath the overpass at the far northeast of the circuit is tremendously tricky. I can't imagine racing in this in the wet as Nipro clatters over the curbs in that very section, passing the Zoom hoardings. I've seen people mentioning that putting Zoom as a sponsor almost makes it look like you're writing subtitles for the noise the cars make as they go past, and they're screaming down to Sector 3 in the McLaren with Nipro then. I'm expecting good things from Nipro. He was talking up his chances, at least his time trial times, in the driver chat earlier this afternoon, and we'll see what the first one looks like. It's going to be a couple of seconds away from that. It's a 27.5, but it is the fastest time on the board so far from Nipro. Who else have we got? It's Felix with a time on the board, 28.6, and it looks like we've got Burmeister and maybe Stinos might be the one to watch here at JP.
Yeah, I'm going to run on board with Stinos. It's a shame with that Zoom ban is that the Mazda on in F1 would be like the old school Mazda adverts. But yeah, Stinos just starting his lap, so I'll keep an eye and see how he's going. So we've got Speed Crew starting a lap, I believe, and a few people already coming in the pits. It's like a Haas. Burmeister coming into the pits, so he's not liking his first attempt there.
No, I guess the drivers are going to have to balance that setup decision. I haven't yet heard from Smoke or any of the other drivers at what stage we're expecting rain, whether it is start to finish or it will develop, and if so, what's the proportion of the race that will be wet. Tirak is heading down the long straight at the north of the circuit now in the third sector, heading towards that turn 17. Can he guess the braking zone correctly? It looks like he's got a nice tight apex on the exit. That means he can open that throttle a little bit earlier, too early though, and a big side step from the rear end of the car, just wrestles it back and gets a 29.1. It's a banker lap, but it's that's about the kindest thing I can say about it, I think, at the moment, JP.
Yes, definitely more pace from Tirak to come. Stinos coming into turn 17 now. Much nicer line compared to ARL earlier through 17. Flat to the left, flat to the right. What can he do? He hugs to the inside. Shortest line is a 26.7, and that is a time to beat.
That's fantastic stuff then from Stinos, laying the gauntlet down. We've got Ghost though, current champion here, heading into the difficult turn 11. Another tricky hairpin. It's some great overtaking opportunities connected by some very, very ugly, difficult corners. It's probably the best thing you can say about the shape of this circuit. Now heading through the turn 16, which is the obviously crucial corner for the VMAX down the long straight. Good evening if you are just joining us. We're dying to hear from you all in the live chat. Make sure you've liked the video today and subscribe to the channel. One more race after this one for this season, but of course a week full of racing ahead here on the channel. Into the hairpin comes Ghost then for the first time at speed, and then two more corners. Just getting the line perfectly through there, and that is a 27.6. That is nearly 9/10 away from Stinos' first time there, JP.
Yeah, obviously Ghost didn't like his chances round here, and you can kind of see why if that's the pace he's got. Obviously drivers now coming back into the pits for their first tyre change. Smoke just started his lap. Stefan on a lap at the moment. It's just come into the third sector.
Yeah, and heading down that long straight again.
Yeah, it's a long old wait when you're commentating in qualifying, when you're waiting for a car to get down to 17, but it's definitely worth it for the speed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Last couple of corners then. I tell you what, Stefan, not quite as tight on the apex compared to others, and it's only a 28.2. I think he's possibly leaving a bit of time on the table there, and that is definitely looks more like a banker than it does a full run that for Stefan. He's just not quite attacking the apex like I thought he would, especially at the end.
Absolutely. We've got Smoke then starting that long run down the third straight. We've got Jigs telling Nipro not to bottle it. That's putting something fairly unkind into the universe for his driver who he's tuned in to see. I know. Keza, good evening to you. Good evening anyone from the other tiers of Invictus Racing League. Smoke across the line at 28.7 with just MDJ and Burmeister yet to set a time, although obviously Tirak, Bailey Reshka, Smoke, Michael Lutker will be looking for a little bit more out of this one. Let's see if we've got MDJ or Burmeister closing at the end of a lap here.
MDJ just at the end of his latest lap. It's not going to be a quick one, I don't think. Yeah, 29.3. So not ideal from him. Burmeister just coming into sector 2 through the technically the first of the DRS zones. And hits the brakes into 11. Now, very interesting, almost like a little bit of a sky pad moment here. I've been having a look at gears through this sector, just through this little Nadri section from 11 to 16, and interestingly, all the drivers, apart from one, are hedging their bets between second and third through the whole sector, especially that chicane. Stinos was fourth through the lot of it.
That makes sense. That makes sense to reduce the chance of that wheel spin. Burmeister had a little bit of a doubtful moment there. A driver just weaving in front of him on the straight. Weaved a couple of times too many as he got closer and closer. Burmeister then towards the line. What's the first lap like? It's a middle of the road, middle of the grid, 28.409 for Burr. ARL's already on his second one though, and just starting this one. Let's see if he can unlock a little bit more speed now. Maybe a little tweak on the setup in the pits based on what he learned from the first one, JP, you think?
Not a lot you can do with setup once you leave the garage. So you park firmly on, the only things you can change is your differential, your front wing and your tyre pressures. That is your lot. So if he's going to make changes, it's going to be something to do with the front end to make it bite more, or it's maybe biting too much, and maybe the on-throttle differential, maybe to settle the rear end a bit more on the throttle. But there's not too much you can do. So ARL coming into the Nadgery section. I do like that name for this section.
I don't think it's going to communicate. I don't think it's going to cross the Atlantic well, shall we say? I don't think it will catch on over that side of the pond.
Nicely done by ARL. He's got 1:02.4 so far his time after sector 2, so it's not a bad lap here. He's probably on for maybe a high 27.
Yeah, certainly that was strong second sector, purple second sector for ARL. Still not troubling that apex. He's getting closer to it, but that's just caught hold of the car. He'll try and reverse, but he can see the Mercedes coming around behind him. That was very sporting of him to avoid contact and make sure that he didn't ruin someone else's lap. Which Mercedes was that? Well, it must have been Luke Bailey. Unfortunately, Delange has been unable to appear tonight, despite best efforts. That's a big shame for us. But Luke Bailey's here, as is several of the top tier veterans. We've got Stinos out on a lap. We've got Ghost just starting a lap as well. How's Stinos getting on, do we think? He's 52 hundredths faster than he's been before. Now he's into the tricky section here. Absolutely flies over that sausage curb at turn 15, JP. I can't believe that this is quicker, and it actually is.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you can cut that sausage curb and the car will ride it, you're doing less meters. And less meters mean you get into your final destination quicker. You're basically trying to straight line that chicane as much as possible. So if the car will take it, and it's within the track limits of the game, then these drivers would try and take every centimetre, millimetre out of this circuit that they have to do.
And it goes quicker.
I was riding on board a Ghost, and similar thing, all over the curves going over. and the car not really too bad, but Ghost only 0.23 up on his current time, which means he's not going to break. He's going to get past Nipro, but not a lot higher than that.
Yeah, and I think he had a little correction coming out of turn 16 as well. I think that lost a little bit of momentum in the all-important long straight in the third sector here. Another tiny infinitesimal correction, just stealing that ideal line for Ghost. He goes second though, 27.3. He's getting closer, and Stinos only improved by a very, very small margin, less than a tenth. He may be reaching the limit of his pace and these track conditions at this point, JP.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big shame really that the Alpha Romeo, both Alpha Romeos not here tonight now because Delan's not here. Because that basically will put them out of contention for the constructors.
Right.
It will now just be between Alpine and Haas. Just a recap of the top three. Alpine on 207 points, Haas on 187, Alfa Romeo 180. Alpine need 29 points or more of a gap to seal that championship tonight.
Stefan across the line is P4, 127.845. Felix showing well. He didn't qualify well last week. Came forward and then backward and then forward again in the race, but a P6 start or thereabouts would be very handy for him. It would certainly calm him prior to the race, and we're getting some open threats to Nipro for not coming out of the pits yet, or staying in the pits. Smoker's got a purple second sector, and he is nearing that, what is it, 204, 205 miles an hour, as he then heavily brakes through the speed trap and through turn 16. Quite a nice line for Smoke, just the line of least resistance, touch on the curb, a quarter of a second improvement up to P11, and we've got MDJ on a lap now, just starting the lap there, JP.
Yeah, what Nipro's doing could actually be very clever here.
Saving a set of softs and waiting for everyone else to clean the track?
Well, not that. The fact that he's saving a set of softs, because most of the drivers now have, because now you've got that choice of tyres, you can have a balanced tyre choice, a harder tyre choice, or a softer tyre choice. Now, the harder one gives you, I think, an extra set of mediums and hards, so you only have 2 sets of softs. The softer gives you all softs for qualifying and just 1 set of the mediums and hards. The balanced gives you an extra set of mediums, but obviously that means you get 1 less set of softs. So what Nipro is probably doing here is he's only going to go for 2 runs to save himself his third set of softs, because I think in his mind he thinks there's definitely going to be a safety car in the race, and he may want those set of fresh softs if that safety car comes out at the right time to go to the end of the race. Whereas everyone else will have slightly worn softs from using them in qualifying.
Yep, absolutely, and with a time that's good enough for third place in your first banker lap, that's a safe place to start placing your bets. MDJ gets up to P9, another one of our newcomers here to the top tier racing in IRL. Got outlaps on the board though. Nipro is on an outlap now and beginning. We've got Luke Bailey though. Oh, he's invalidated this lap, unfortunately. Just going to start his next one. There we go. Now we're on for Luke Bailey.
Yeah, it's an outlap anyway. It just, as soon as they cross the line into sector 3, it gets rid of the outlap memo, which is slightly annoying, and he's gone round anyway.
He has gone round, and he hit the barrier pretty hard, didn't he?
I was going to say, I think that's probably damaged the rear wing, which is irreparable.
Yep.
In a session, so that will be the end of Luke Bailey's qualifying in 11th at the moment.
I guess that's another way of saving a set of tyres.
Not if this is his third set. I mean, I'm pretty
They've only done an outlap, I guess. Yeah.
They've probably added a bit of wear by lighting them up.
Very true. Speed Queen on the next lap. She is just heading through sector 1, navigating that switchback section, and now that really difficult sequence of 6, 7, and 8. Just to get the car down. The Mercedes weaving all over the road in front of her though. That is going to really anger Speed Queen, especially someone with the experience of Luke Bailey doing it.
Yeah, Michael Lipka starting his latest lap in the Alfa Romeo. I think Burmeister on his latest lap. I think Speed Queen probably is the first of the last qualifying laps potentially.
Going to see what Nipro was waiting for here, as he is starting his his final attempt. 35 seconds to go before the checkered flag, and he brings the car down into that section. Looked a little bit wide on the exit. Smoker's retired from the proceedings. I don't think he feels confident going faster down a P12. Good evening to good friend Waitsy, who joins us, racer of leagues gone by for me, but someone always cheers me to see him in the live chat. Good evening to you, and to everyone else who has yet to make a comment. Nipro then having a pretty good sector 2, I think, but it's not super special yet. We'll see as he comes out of turn 16. That's when we'll get the best indication whether at this weight has been worth it. It's a nearly 4/10 improvement that would put him on the front row, but he needs a lot more time, JP, to make this pole.
Yeah, Burmeister up to 10th, uncharacteristic of Burmeister to be that low. Michael Lucas spun it in 17, but luckily he's going to get out of the way of Nipro before he gets there.
Nipro then, 2 corners to go. Yeah, a car going in the pits in front of him, hooks that pit wall tightly, claims that front row position, 27.2. It looks to be Stinos just defending his own pole position by 1/10.5 already, but completely missing the apex and braking zone for the final corner. Stinos going for the line then. I think he may have lost everything he gained in the previous parts of the lap. Stinos no faster indeed, 1600 slower, but Ghosty's going quicker, and he claims back that second place, 127.173. Nice and tight there at the top. Exactly what we want to see. I wonder though, JP, what can Stefan do? 3/10 to the good at the moment.
Yeah, I just want to mention Felix in 4th place at 27.5. Wow. That's a great effort from him. ARL in 5th at the moment. Stefan into the final corner. Lovely apex, open the steering. That's a lovely corner that from Stefan. Does he have the time though? That's the question. Doesn't hug the curb as much, but it is 4th place for Stefan. And look at the gap between 2nd and 7th really, just half a second in it between tremendous. 6 places.
But Stinos had the pace there, absolutely. He is staking a claim at the top of the tree here in Invictus Racing League's top tier. Ghost, though, our current champion, on the front row with him, put himself in a good place. Strong performance from Nipo, exceptional from Stefan at the end, and bring it on for the Alpine versus Haas battle that we'll be talking about through the race for the Constructors' Championship. First place, though, Stinos in the Red Bull around Miami.
Yeah, it was another incredible lap from Stinos as we get to the grid. Once again, the question is, can Ghost stop him, or anyone on the grid stop him for that matter, in the second race of his IRL career? But it is Stinos who takes pole position from Ghost. Row 2 is Nipro and Stefan. Row 3, Felix and ARL. Row 4 is Speed Queen and Reshka. Row 5, Michael Lutka and Burmeister. Row 6 is MDJ and Tirek. Row 7, Luke Bailey and Smoke. And that will round out the grid for the Miami Grand Prix. Well,
just about time to get your podium predictions in. Correctly predict the podium for the maximum amount of kudos, especially prior to the lights going out. Remind me, JP, are we on formation lap yet or not? We are. We're not.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, okay.
I think that's probably going to stay off for the remainder of the season.
Various leagues I commentate on are changing, and I can never keep it in my head. I keep looking at that angle of the Hard Rock Cafe Stadium and wishing that we had some sequence of cars driving up and down those multi-story car park spirals there in the corners of the circuit.
Imagine trying to get an F1 car down there.
Yes, indeed. I think you need a go-kart to make the best use of that kind of radius. But let's have those predictions in, and let me know what you're thinking about strategy. We'll see it is raining from the very outset of the race here then, so that adds an extra dimension to this circuit. I think the track is incredibly slippery out of the hairpins and through JP's Nadgery section there under the overpass that Alonso despises so much. But that just makes it all the more difficult. The ride height unchanged from qualifying, of course. Whatever they chose to qualify on is what they have to race on. So we'll look forward to seeing just how many spins we get through that very difficult transition from the end of Sector 2 into the start of Sector 3. JP, any feeling about this one in terms of strategy? Will it just be intermediates, do we think, tonight?
I mean, looking at the skies, it doesn't look very dark in terms of how the clouds are. So I wonder if it's going to be a bit of a wet to dry race. But if it remains wet, you're probably looking at a one stop just to get some fresh set of inters or wets on. But if it does if it is looking to dry up, it's a shame we haven't got a living wall here tonight, because he's a bit of a master of coming in the pits at the right time in these changeable conditions.
Yeah.
Especially Austria was an absolute cracker of a call in that race. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It looks like intermediate tyres, from what I can see in the Mercedes garage anyway.
Yes.
For the starting tyre, and I'd agree with that based on the rain, but it'd be interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah, no one's got any idea about what the track behaves like over the course of a race distance. In anger, at least, we've heard from Ghost before that he does 2 to 3 race distances a week, I believe. Just to get himself in the right mindset. But that depends on what else he's got to do for other leagues that he takes part in and wins. So 15 seconds to go. We'll be diving straight into the action, and bear with us with our camera work at that point. It's very, very tricky to get everything organised in time and concentrate on what's going on the track. JP will go from the back with one of the tail runners and see if we get any incidents from the midfield backwards. But I'll be taking you through from the lights now, as the 5 lights are on and it's time to get going. Drop the clutch and go away from the start. Ghost looks like he got a good reaction there from the outset, and yes, he's got up the inside into the initial hairpin turn 1. Stinos treading very carefully, as the most of the front of the field appear to be. Ghost claiming the front position on this one. Very few other changes. Ghost from Stinos, Nipro, Stefan, Speed Queen in 5th, and Felix up into 6th. JP from the back.
Yeah, very clean getaway. Luke Bailey getting a good start, up 2 places. Reshka falling behind. He's down to 13th now as he gets overtaken by the AlphaTauri of Tirac. We were 3 wide coming out turn 1, as it looks like, I think it's ARL, Michael Luca and MDJ having a bit of a battle, but Burmeister and MDJ, the bigger movers, 3 positions gained after the first sector.
Great start from Ghost. It looks like Nipro wanting to challenge into turn 11 here, but didn't quite have the top speed as Stinos goes very wide. He's managed to box in Nipro into not being able to make a move in the Nadri section, where we got Ghost starting to try and stretch away now. He's not quite as confident through those tricky turns though, and over the bumps, treading very carefully. He is the first guinea pig on the racetrack. Of course, everyone will learn from his braking positions and markers. If he over-eggs braking zone, they can all learn from it. But if he gets it right, they don't learn very much. Ghost then bravely on the brakes. Lepro possibly inching forward. Stinos much better on the second braking phase, but Ghost with a better exit speed coming out of the final chicane, final hairpin. It's still Ghost, Stinos, Nipro, Stefan and Speed Queen. Felix holding on to 6th at the moment. He has stopped the rot as a couple of looks into the hairpin as Stefan diving down, Burmeister diving down the inside of Felix, but doesn't quite make the move stick, as now MDJ round the outside of Burmeister. That will become the inside for the next switchback, and we'll ride with them side by side on the way into turn 5, 6. Let's see, and the Williams gets ahead. MDJ just edging it.
Yeah, MDJ was looking at the inside of Burmeister going into turn 1. I wonder if that caused Burmeister to slightly outbrake himself, almost doing like a Daniel Ricciardo, just slightly outbraking himself but making it into a move. But Felix, not Felix, MDJ, a little bit lucky there. He had a bit of a snap coming out of turn 1, so out of turn 1 and 3, so lucky to still be on the circuit. It was well held. But generally, it's a nice clean getaway for all the drivers here in very tricky conditions. Every driver on the intermediate tyres. No one's taken a gamble on the wets or, unsurprisingly, on the slicks.
MDJ with 4 places gained. It looks like Ghost, though, struggling into that second sector. Stinos had a half an attempt. Ghost didn't try and defend. Maybe Stinos, though, waiting for this trip down the long straight here. The slipstream effect is reduced, but as is the ERS effect in the rain, and they get down into the hairpin. Stinos not going for it and starting to gap Nipro now. Front two, as they were in qualifying, starting to stretch away. And Ghost, the race pace looking pretty impressive at the moment, JP. Well, I say that, and Stinos gets fastest lap.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if Ghost has got his car set up a little bit more for straight line. If he's just struggling that little bit through sector 2,
yeah.
Just says to me he's running a little bit less wing, looking for the outright top end down the straights, which if you can get the gap to defend yourself through the corners, it can work quite nicely to your advantage. But one mistake and Stinos will probably get Ghost here. So Ghost under a severe amount of pressure.
Well, his top speed has been the feature of his season thus far, has it not? He's somehow able to dance on a lower downforce setting than the majority of the field every race, and that top speed has helped him claim back lost leading positions and hold on to them, even though he's usually had a shadow most of the races this season.
Burmeister gradually closing back in on MDJ. Tirac almost alongside Luke Bailey into turn 11. Can't quite make the move though through 12. Well, can he? He's going to try and hang around the outside. If he keeps this, that'd be impressive, but he just has a bit of a slide, and that cancels that out, and now he's under pressure from smoke behind. But no real overtaking chance here unless you're already alongside coming out of that chicane.
There's very little grip on the racing line around that sector, let alone off the racing line as Tirac was. Stinos, unable to live with the top speed here of Ghost, and Nipro has just stopped that crawl away. Go ahead.
Burmeister looking at the outside of MDJ. He's going to look for a switchback through 17. Again, can't quite find the grip to get that position back off MDJ, but these two starting to have this little battle, and is allowing Felix just to edge away here. This would be nice for Felix, and means he can start conserving his tyres. The game thinking lap 14 to 23 is the window for a new set of intermediates.
That's a pretty safe bet, isn't it? that's about a third of the race distance. Right, yes. I imagine if the drivers are happy with a one-stop. Now, I'm not seeing a huge amount of rain, but I'm not seeing it change particularly at this stage, JP. I know my PS4 doesn't render it brilliantly for the spectator. Stinos then, on the long straight. That's not really a straight. The first straight on the track, he's tucked right up behind Ghost. Ghost will be forced to defend here if he wants to hang on to this place. But no, Stinos not confident enough on the brakes, or he didn't really fancy it at this stage in proceedings. Speed Queen nice and tight behind Stefan, but we'll see what goes on now here, because you are utterly eliminating the strategic element of these drivers' races now, JP. It is all about when they choose to pit and how they react to the weather.
Yeah, I mean, the strategy element is still there, because it depends when you want your new intermediates. Because obviously, the longer you can go on your first set, the fresher your intermediates for the second stint are compared to everyone else. But it's whether you want to try the overcut or the undercut. That's the big question around here.
Yeah. Because
overtaking is looking quite hard in these wet conditions without the DL. Oh, and Burmeister's just gone into the back of MDJ. Looks like he's got away with it from damage perspective, but bit of a rarity that from Burmeister to run into the back of someone.
Absolutely, yeah. Drivers' braking points will be slightly unpredictable here tonight, especially into that hairpin. You never quite know how the car's going to react. It's slightly blind on entry as well, especially when you plant the brakes. And it does appear that the lack of DRS is severely hampering the overtaking at this stage. However, it is still an absolute art form to watch these drivers going around this very slippery circuit at the best of times without making mistake after mistake. Stinos 1/3 of a second behind Ghost, and it's at that point that we then see him hit the invisible wall, and he cannot seem to get under that very far enough to action and overtake. It is Ghost from Stinos, Nipro, the top three within sight of each other, and they are gapping the rest of the field. Then Stefan 4 seconds back.
Yeah, Stefan doesn't look too comfortable, as Nipro is the first to pick up a time penalty for track infringements, so that's going to take him out of this fight, really. I mean, he can still be a bit of a mischief in terms of the way this battle ends if he decides to start attacking. or if he can get to the
Ghost
point
can feel it coming this time. He moves to the inside. He's made his one move as Stinos launches one down the inside. He's sending it very late. They are level going through the apex. He's got the inside line through the first corner. If Ghost can hang on around the outside, he's got the inside line through the second, and it will be dead heat across the line, I think. It is Ghost who snuck slightly ahead. He's claimed the right side of the circuit, the correct side for the next hairpin, and if he leaves enough room on the outside, Stinos is going to hang on. They continue side by side. Ghost just sneaking ahead. Stinos will try on the switchback, but Ghost holds on to that lead. I'm not quite sure how he's done it there, JP.
No, that's very well driven from the pair of them there. And Ghost done exactly the right thing there. He's almost... He went to come across, but I think he realised that the best chance of defending that place is to stay on the outside, because in these wet conditions you want to open the steering up as early as you can, because the more you have the steering zone, the more chance of the wheel spin coming in when you bring in the throttle. So I think Ghost thought, I'll let him take the inside, let him have the tighter line, as Stinos almost goes into the back of Ghost.
He
and
does.
That's allowed Nipro through.
Nipro was right on the back of Stinos until the brakes, and that's why, because Stinos completely outbrakes himself, avoided contact like a pro, you have to say, but unfortunately opened the door, and Nipro needed no second invitation. Everybody's tail light flashing, of course. There's Speed Queen with a penalty. Take a picture. That is a major rarity for Speed Queen. And just shows how difficult these conditions are. Ivan Belov in the chat, Ivan Karakov here in the live chat, says he's so glad he's not racing tonight. I'm not quite sure why he's missing, but we miss him, and mind you, he'd rather be watching tonight, I think, than taking part, it seems.
Yeah, and how much is that going to cost Stinos? Because bear in mind, Nipro, as I think Luke Bailey now has a time penalty. Nipro has a time penalty, and he's between Ghost and Stinos. But as I've said before, he might have a time penalty, but he can still determine the outcome of this battle for the win. Yeah. In terms of what he decides to do, because if he thinks he can get past Ghost and get 3 seconds up the road, that's exactly what he's going to try and do. And this is still not over. Speed Queen, right on the back of Stefan through Sector 1. I mean, practically pushing him through the corners.
Unlocking a bit of speed now is Speed Queen. She tends to start the stint gently, which I think is quite a calculated decision. She has the pace to run with the front runners usually at the start of the stints, but she brings those tyres in very, very gently, and it pays dividends later. Goes still ahead though into the crucial braking zone. Will the same be said for Stefan? It will, as his top speed seems to cancel out Speed Queen's first sector advantage, and we decide for some reason to stare at some trees. I'll try and find a different driver to follow, because that was a terrible camera angle we suddenly got on the screen.
Meanwhile, Reshka side by side with Tirak, this for 12th place, up towards the Nadri chicane, and Tirak's going to have the inside and ultimately the position for the minute, but he's very slow through the chicane, but unfortunately no way Reshka can quite get alongside ready for 16. So
just parked it on the apex there.
Yeah, just about. Reshka down in 13th at the moment, but currently, as it stands for constructors, I know we only had 7 laps or so, but currently Alpine extending their lead in the championship to 24 points, but still not enough to have the championship in their pocket.
Yes, Reshka not contributing a huge amount of points, but he does contribute a lot when it comes to race setup and practice, as well as keeping Ghost motivated through the race in party chat. Their teamwork has been lauded by Ghost repeatedly on our podium interviews. Yeah, Ivan's saying he has to go to work now, so that's why he's not racing. He's just stopped by to say hello. Well, hope you'll catch the rest of the race later. Speed Queen still on the back of Stefan. I think the gap at the front is sufficient for Ghost to avoid an overtake. We'll focus perhaps on Speed Queen behind Stefan. 0.4 of a second as they exit turn 8, and they'll go through the nothing turns of 9 and 10. We're not seeing any DRS. I wonder if we will see DRS at all tonight, but Speed Queen's top speed just not able to live with Stefan's here, or at least not able to outdo his top speed. It's a very tight field as things stand. They are still all within the same sector, JP. That's got to be a record, 8 laps deep.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive for everyone. Although it is the top 3 gradually pulling away. Stinos passing Nipro down the back straight towards 17. And
there has to be use of ERS, surely, to get that
Yeah,
kind of
I'd have thought
advantage.
so. I'd have thought so. But that's a crucial thing for Stinos here because, as we say, and we'll probably keep saying throughout the race, Nipro with that penalty, that is crucial for Stinos to make sure he is the person that decides the outcome of this battle. Or Ghost is the one who decides the outcome of the battle. He wants one of those two to decide this rather than Nipro getting involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Stinos
And
then with the fastest lap.
Stefan, side by side coming out of turn number 1. There was a bit of contact. They're still side by side. Stefan will have a slightly nicer line through 3 up towards 4. They're still going to be side by side. This is an interesting section to be side by side. 4, 5. Can Stefan keep it? Yes, he can. Just about.
Whoa! Speed Queen leaving about 4/5 of a car width at the exit there. Oh, we've got Felix getting in the mix as well. He could get himself a nice double toe down the long straight as we're going to see swaps here. Here comes Stefan trying to go past Speed Queen. Felix following him. Felix with a possible double move here. We saw a good one in the last race. He's going to go around the outside. He's trying to go the long way round. Stefan drives him to the absolute limit of the circuit, but he hangs on. Felix will not be deterred from these moves, and he gets the double one done. Oh, fantastic.
That is a great move from Felix. I mean, again, he was almost pushing Stefan like I remember Antonio Felix da Costa in, I think, F3 at Monza one year. Almost pushing him on the rain lights, and here comes Speed Queen past Stefan. This has gone horribly wrong for the Haas team. I wonder, are they expecting to dry up? Because Stefan just doesn't seem to have any pace in this wet condition.
No, and so Speed Queen got back past him, and I rode on board with Stefan to see the slipstream effect. Stefan at 6s and 7s on the way out of the final hairpin, and it's now MDJ alongside him. Stefan was in the lead of this group. He was up into 4th at the start of lap 9. He's now fighting for what could turn out to be 7th at the start of lap 10.
And I think if MDJ gets past Stefan, don't be surprised if he allows his teammate of Burmeister to go through. Because Burmeister looking quicker at this stage, but it does make me wonder about, are we expecting dry condition? Because if that is the case, and Stefan is the only person on a drier setup, he could have a massive advantage later on in this race. That's if it dries up, because that thing just doesn't look quick or nice to drive. As Tirac goes side by side with Luke Bailey and takes the place off him.
Great stuff. Just got a helicopter view of the fake marina, and it actually looked more realistic in the game than it does in real life. I don't know quite how they've managed that one. Luke Bailey then trying to come back at Tirac, who had a better exit from the previous corner. I think they're going to be, as they were going into that turn 11 hairpin. Just over 1/3 distance, it's Ghost leading by half a second from Stinos, and by 7/10 there further back is Nipro. 9 seconds further back from that group is Felix, and Speed Queen right with him. Speed Queen presumably working her usual miracles on these tyres. Wouldn't half mind being back on the podium again, but fighting for 4th at the moment.
Burmeister looking to the outside of MDJ once again into 17, not going to work. But will he get enough drive? He's just going to sit in behind at the moment. Maybe he might have a look here at turn 1. He's close enough for a bit of a lunge. ARL into the pits now.
To be selling the dummy there. Burmeister going to the extreme outside. He's going to try to switch back here. MDJ getting just about enough grip off the corner. Burmeister's going to end up running into the back of MDJ if he's not careful. He's trying to protect as much of that slipstream as possible, as Speed Queen is side by side once again with another car. It's Felix this time going through the S's in the first sector, heading down into the long turn 6, 7 and 8 sequence, and Felix stays ahead this time.
Yeah, interesting. ARL in the pits and another set of intermediates. There was no front wing change, so a little bit early from ARL, but is that a sign that tyre wear possibly a little higher than expected?
Well, it seems that way, doesn't it? The car will behave differently on heavy fuel, as that's Burmeister getting alongside and just past for a moment MDJ, who holds the inside line through the hairpin. We've seen drivers drive each other off at that point, and Burmeister following Felix's instructions of how to drive side by side on this section. It still stays side by side. This has to end in tears. Burmeister goes across the curb. He will get a 3-second time penalty for that corner cut, but I think he'll take that and just drive away here if he possibly can. No, he's let the place back. Burmeister having major problems there.
Well, the problem is, because he's gone across, I think he'll get that time penalty removed, or at least that corner cut warning removed, because he got run out of road. However,
Speedqueen versus Felix. Speedqueen gets ahead, going through the final hairpin. Sorry, JP. They're still side by side as they finish off the lap. The end of lap 12 becomes the start of lap. The start of lap 12 now, as Speedqueen has the inside line into the first hairpin and will just consolidate that move. But this track is proving great for side by side action, multiple corners long.
Yeah, no worries. Just going to say, Burmeister, because that was a corner cut in the game's eyes, and he technically overtook MDJ off circuit, it would have told him it was an illegal overtake, and that he would have had to have given that position back. So now he's got all that work to do again, after handing that back. But it wouldn't surprise me if that one headed to the stewards.
Okay, interesting. Well, Stinos is a third of a second behind Ghost as they go into the braking zone. Turn 11, no way through at this stage. Felix trying to stay with Speedqueen. There is action at 3 key zones on the circuit, and it's hard to keep track because there's so many overtakes. It does look like there's becoming a big tyre delta at this stage, JP.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where ARL, I'm not quite sure where he pitted from. That is the only problem.
I have a feeling he was, what, 6th?
I want to say around that region, yeah. But it'll be interesting to see where he comes out as Luke Bailey picks up another time penalty. Yeah, it'll be interesting where ARL comes out, because obviously he's pitted early for the new set of intermediates, so technically he should have the best grip of everyone, and he should be going slightly quicker compared to those around him, as Stinos setting another fastest lap of the race, looking to try and close in on Ghost here.
Yeah, Ghost doing his best here to hang on.
Side by side. Sorry, Bubba.
No, they are indeed. You're absolutely right to call that one. Smoke staying ahead at the moment in the Ferrari.
And Tirak in the
forward.
pits. So both Alpha Tauris are the first cars to pit.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if that's a deliberate tactical call, whether they possibly in a party and ARL has said get on some new inters, they feel great. But he's about to go past his teammate in the pits now, and gaining at the back here, having made that pit stop. What's the order at the moment? Well, it's Ghost, Stinos, Nipro, as they were. Then Speedqueen 12 seconds away from the top 3, followed by Felix, Stefan, MDJ, Burmeister, Michael, Reshka, the top 10 on lap 13. I'm trying to find the nearest action. Looks to be Burmeister on the back of MDJ at the moment, JP.
Yeah, Burmeister closing at a rate of knots, coming up towards turn 11. Can he actually make the move this time? Yes, he can. He does it before the corner. But he's compromised the entry, went way too tight. Whoa, almost a bit of contact through. And MDJ gets back in front, but I think Burmeister, obviously trying to outbrake MDJ, just slightly outbraked himself a bit, just a touch.
More action at the front as Ghost down the middle of the track. Stinos forced to take the outside run. Ghost playing chess all night long here, doing his level best. He knows which way the circuit goes every single lap, and he's placing himself, despite the fact that fastest laps are being traded between first Stinos, then Nipro behind him, but Ghost just about managing to play this one as smart as possible. But can he live? Can he keep that gap, JP, all the way to the end of the race?
That's the question, but I will point out that Ghost does have a little bit of his primary weapon available to him. I'm not going to say percentages or anything like that, but he does have that available. As I think that was Felix has had a small issue through 3 because he's now been overtaken by Stefan.
Yeah, temporary yellow flag, but it's gone now. Drivers might have been starting to get a little bit excited with the prospect of changing tyres. Ghost with Stinos 1/10 behind him. Ghost, his braking performance is still incredibly strong down into these hairpins, and Stinos just can't quite get the overlap on the top speed. Ghost doing everything he can and just hanging on to this lead, but it is going to be one of the hardest nights work he's had all season. The pace of Stinos, we've seen the gap in qualifying, JP. I'm amazed. I know we've said this all season long, but how is Ghost hanging on?
Yeah, it's a class drive once again so far from Ghost, and I will say so far because we're only nearing halfway. But it's just measured, really, really measured this from Ghost. He knows when to defend, when
there goes
not
a pit
to.
stop then, pits from Stinos, wow. So he's going to try and do the undercut here, and of course Ghost can't defend from that because he's got Nipro right behind him. Ghost might be being outfoxed here, JP. We'll see what the tyre performance is like on lap 1, but I'm guessing now that for Ghost this is time to use that ERS that he's been saving.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting though, again, as Felix comes in the pits and DJ in the pits, so we are now getting that round of pit stops about halfway as we expected. The biggest question here, I mean, Stinos, that's good stuff for him. He's come out ahead of both Haas's, so he doesn't really have any traffic. The only traffic he's got is his teammate ahead, and I doubt Speed Queen will really hold him up. It's not her race really to be in.
Right.
But how quickly do these intermediates fire up? Because whilst they do work in colder conditions compared to the slicks, they still need to heat up to a degree. So the question here is, will the undercut work? If it will work if the tyres light up early enough during this lap.
Well, 18.5 seconds the gap to leader was when Stinos came out of the pits. It's now 18.2. Not closing hugely at the moment with Stinos with a little distraction in front of him, although not quite close enough to Speed Queen to make a difference. It only needs to be about half a second, and Stinos will get Ghost on the way on Ghost's outlap on the pits. Ghost coming in then. It is now 18.0. I think that might be the half second that Stinos needs to get just edge across. Ghost coming into the pits then. How much does he push it? We saw Stinos all crossed up, but Ghost seeming a little bit better performance around the bollards. It's going to be neck and neck this one, JP, as Nipro pits as well.
Yeah, Stinos just coming through 17, 18, through 19. He's just about to cross the start-finish line. I think he's going to do this, you know. It's the fastest sector 3, and he's well clear.
Wow, that is tremendous work.
I say that as here comes Ghost. No, Ghost is going to be just ahead.
What? How did? Oh wow! It's so close. Stinos almost driving into the back of Ghost. He gets a little squirrely on the power, trying to live with the new tyre shod Ghost, who just needs to outfox him for a couple more corners, and he'll be level pegging. But that couldn't have been any closer.
No, you got to remember the pit lane does kind of like cut a little bit. That first corner is a lot tighter than people think. Whereas the pit lane kind of cuts away from that, so Ghost timing that to perfection. I think one more lap and Stinos was gone. But the question now is, Speed Queen, how many laps is she going to do on those intermediate tyres? You need like a sweepstake or something on it. How many laps is Speed Queen going to do on her first stint?
Well, absolutely. Drop your answers in the chat if you want to. With Ghost just about getting those intermediates up to speed. The beauty of the intermediates, especially with this little rainfall, JP, is they do heat up very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. When there's lesser rainfall, they heat up a bit more, and they do fire up, as we like to say, quite nicely. And I get the feeling Speed Queen, I don't think she's going to be out on those inters for too much longer, because she's going to end up in a battle otherwise, as ARL, I think, has gone round at the Nadri chicane.
He has indeed. Felix was closing on him, putting on the pressure. ARL having problems going through that sector. His tyres a lot older than everybody else's on the circuit now, and now dropping to the tail of the field, sadly, for ARL. It is very, very difficult. Stinos with another fastest lap of the race, but he's still boxed in behind Ghost.
Yeah, absolutely, and Phoenix at just ahead of Tirac. MDJ, that's not quite worked out for him at the moment. He's behind Tirac, which isn't going to help him, especially on the basis that Burmeister still is yet to pit, and Nipro picks up another 3 seconds. Wow, that's gonna really hurt him actually, because Stefan only 4.2 behind, but I don't think Stefan's pitted yet.
Correct, yeah. Stefan Burmeister, Reshka Smoke and Luke Bailey, as well as Speed Queen in the lead of the race, yet to pit and waiting for the ideal opportune moment. Of course, it could work out brilliantly for those drivers if we do get a safety car, as any of them reach the very dire end of their tyre life. They will, of course, be more likely to spin, as we've just seen from ARL. Thankfully, didn't trigger a safety car at that point, but I've got to think now, JP, with the weather pretty much set in, that's the only thing that those holdout runners are waiting on.
Yeah, it's either that or they feel that come the end of this race, those who have pitted already will have so much tyre wear based on what they've got on the first stint, that they'll be able to make up that time that they lose by doing this slightly longer first stint. That is the only other thing they can hope for, but on the basis that most of them have done 14-15 laps, I'm not quite sure tyre wear is going to be too much of an issue, as once again Stinos and Nipro trading fastest laps.
Absolutely. Well, Ghost has wasted no time catching up to Speed Queen. Doesn't want to waste any time behind her in that Sector 1. Speed Queen holding her line, as she has every right to do. I may have spoken too soon about ARL there. He drops a line in the chat. It's a little bit cryptic. I'm not sure if he's saying he appreciates what I'd said about him, or whether he was hit from behind in the Nadgery section. And I may have said that he spun too quickly. Of course, I did know Felix was closing, but I didn't think he was close enough to make contact. Ghost then, he doesn't want to end up wasting time here and getting caught himself. He's pressing the ERS button, he's found it, and he's going up the inside on Speed Queen. They touch, the tiniest touch of sidewall to sidewall. Speed Queen won't take kindly to that one, and Ghost needs to tread carefully here, because you don't want to annoy another driver whose teammate is right behind you vying for the outright win.
Yeah, absolutely, and Stinos had a little sniff up the inside there. Almost looking to go down, go past his MDJ. Now finally gets past Terak. That's going to help him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if Speed Queen's deliberately done this, because it is her teammate now fighting for this win, and obviously Red Bull, whilst they're not.
Gives it the inside. Stinos going down the inside, trying for a three-wide moment. Ghost gets the inside line. Now he didn't like this line before, as they touched tyres once again, sidewall to sidewall. No spin or damage resulting. What can Ghost do coming out of here? Speed Queen still has the inside line. This is the exact reverse of what he was his positioning against the other Red Bullies. He tries to switch back, almost gets tapped from the second Red Bull behind him. Stinos will get better momentum coming out of the corner, and Speed Queen is absolutely holding up Ghost now. This could be a massive for the outright win of the race.
Side by side through 4. Stinos has got alongside. He's got the outside for 5. If he can keep it there, it's inside for 6. He's kept it there, and his corner tightens. But is it going to tighten too much for that inside line? Ghost should be able to open the steering up earlier, get on the parry as he does. That was close to the wall, and it was close to the wall again as it can go through the little flick left. 9 and 10, and Ghost just about staying in front, but Speed Queen absolutely playing the team game and the team role here. She is basically doing a Perez from Abu Dhabi, as once again Stinos looks to go around the outside. Has he kept it there? That's the question. The answer is no, and he's going to have to sit back in for the rest of this section.
Oh wow, this is so close. Ghost finding himself in strange parts of the racetrack he hasn't explored yet, but still hanging on. He is dying for either Speed Queen to get out of the way into the pits, or to be able to make a move, but he cannot get fully alongside without Speed Queen welcoming her teammate to join her on the racetrack behind Ghost. But here we go then. Ghost once again, he's not going to go for it. I think he's learned, once bitten twice shy possibly into that chicane. He needs a much clearer opportunity now, JP.
Yeah, and once again Speed Queen stays out. That's 19 laps completed on that first round of intermediates. But like I say, this could all just be playing the team game, because this is a very Perez-like drive from Speed Queen, helping Stinos, an absolute treat. Nipro there in case anything goes down and goes wild.
But carrying 6 seconds, Nipro at the moment on the penalty count. So Ghost keeping a clean sheet at the moment, as is Stinos. Speed Queen has a penalty. She doesn't care at this stage. She'd love to get a cheap pit stop as a result of the safety car. One might get caused, but directly behind her, as Ghost being a little bit more patient now. I don't know if that will pay any more dividends than getting aggressive. But they've touched tyres twice. I wouldn't want to place bets on touching tyres a third time and getting away with it. JP, as Ghost trying to live with Speed Queen, who hogs the inside line. Ghost might have an opportunity as a switchback here. He'll run the outside line through into turn 12 and into turn 13. He'll try and hang on here, but no, Speed Queen with a better line. Stinos around the outside will try and make it stick. Ghost cannot find a way through, as Speed Queen is driving the widest Red Bull that they've made yet.
Yeah, and the line was horrible through the chicane from Speed Queen, but it doesn't matter because her car covering 75% of the road by the looks of it, down towards 17, and this is going to frustrate Ghost because This is going to deplete his ERS as he's trying to make moves. So again, that primary weapon we always talk about for Ghost is depleting.
He's put himself on the outside. He's put himself right on the outside here, and that's going to open the door. Nipro going around Stinos, keeping Stinos busy in his mirrors as they go side by side. That gives Ghost the slightest reprieve, and he'll see them fighting in his mirrors. They almost touch Ghost on the way, and he's trying to get a good exit coming out of the first hairpin. They'll go side by side, Will Stinos and Nipro. These were the super fast guys who joined us in the previous race and ran away with it. Stinos took the win last time out, and he's giving Ghost, our new champion, an absolute run for his money on the circuit tonight.
Yeah, Stinos just about keeping that place, but that all kicked off from Ghost looking around the outside of Speed Queen, and I don't know if it got out of shape at all or not. I had a bit of a bad camera angle on that one, but yeah. So now it's Speed Queen's job to continue holding Ghost up to allow Stinos back in shooting range for that position. Just a theory though here. Are we going to see Speed Queen and the likes of the Hasses maybe try to do the whole race on just one set of intermediates?
Well, you and Simon Rudd, who have both said exactly the same thing at the same time in the live chat, yeah, calling that one. It is possible, of course, no mandatory pit stop under wet conditions. Speed Queen getting a penalty there. Of course, the penalty count that she's got at the moment is so many that she's out of this battle, whether she goes one stop or no stop. Ghost then half a second behind. This could be the opportunity he needs, as Nipro and Stinos are doing more battling with each other than they are with Ghost and with Speed Queen. Liftboot giving us an update on the football. I couldn't care less about the football right now. I'm loving this, JP.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just having a quick look behind the Hasses because Burmeister on the tail of Stefan. It wouldn't surprise me because obviously both drivers are out. Obviously the championship for the drivers is concluded. It wouldn't surprise me if potentially Stefan gives way to Burmeister at some point, especially if Smoke starts to catch that gap up. But a bit like Speed Queen, I wonder if these two are going to try the whole race on just one set of tyres.
Well, if anyone's going to make it work, I know that Speed Queen will. Ghost trying to take advantage of Speed Queen being out of shape into the first corner. Just losing a little bit of braking performance, but couldn't get it done. Stinos now closer to Ghost than Ghost is to Speed Queen. This could be 3 wide into the first major hairpin here at the end of Sector 2. Let's see. Ghost going a long way around the outside of Speed Queen. Speed Queen hanging on. Ghost might have just the edge, but Speed Queen, oh, that is a little bit rude on our new champion. Ghost just edging ahead now. Will he get the inside line? He holds on around the next corner. He's got enough room and enough of an overlap. Hits over the speed bump. Speed Queen braking hard. They're trying to go 4 into that ridiculous 10-16 JP, and still Speed Queen hangs on.
How have they got through there with no damage? I will not know. That is not normally a place you want to be going too wide, let alone 2 rows of 2. But Nipro down the inside of Stinos now into 17. He's going to complete the move. Stinos almost going round the back end.
Ghost might have it now as well, just ahead of them. Ghost might have the gap on Speed Queen, but no, she's got the inside, and she is doing to Ghost what he did to Stinos for so many laps earlier on. Speed Queen still ahead. Ghost, though, on the outside of turn 1, becomes the inside into turn 2, and finally Ghost gets through past Speed Queen. And Nipro is past Stinos, is behind them. 4-way battle at the lead of this race.
Yeah, clever from Ghost, going around the outside, break that a little bit later, and again was allowed to get onto the throttle that little bit earlier, opening up the steering. So good move from Ghost, and now he's got to use this to his best advantage and get himself that gap.
Now is the time to make everything work for you, Ghost, to get away from this like a rabbit out of a trap. He's trying to get away as much as possible as Speed Queen is trying to hold up Nipro diving down the inside. Speed Queen still with the nose ahead. They still keep going like this. I cannot believe it. Normally I'd say this is going to end in tears as the wheels get overlapped between the McLaren and the second most Red Bull. I'm sure there were sparks flying off Speed Queen's car that time as well.
Yeah, I think there might be a touch of contact between the McLaren and Speed Queen. But
look at the pace of Ghost, who's been released from this battle.
I was going to say, this is hindering Stinos now in his chance of this victory.
Yeah, this is now working against the Red Bull overall result, you think now, JP?
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously, Speed Queen looking to hold up Nipro at least. I think if Stinos gets behind Speed Queen, she may relinquish him, but the problem is I think she's got lesser of a penalty compared. No, so Speed Queen and Nipro have exactly the same penalty. That's why she's fighting hard against him, because this is for position. However, the biggest problem here is that Stefan is within that time penalty zone, so he can gain positions out of this. As Stinos, that's a great move on Nipro through that section. And the question now, will Speed Queen try and relinquish her teammates in a way that she doesn't lose position?
That's going to be very, very tricky with the margins that the top-tier drivers are playing with here. But, yeah, we will see if Speed Queen can make it work. She needs to hold up Nipro. She needs to release Stinos here. But, of course, they've only just starting to work together. Speed Queen will certainly not living with letting him through quite as easily as perhaps she would a teammate she'd been working with all season long.
Nipro round the outside. He's going to have the inside for the chicane. Will's ahead. And that is Nipro through, so unfortunately Speed Queen down behind the McLaren, and she's got a bit of work to do on severely older tyres.
Is that a classic case of trying to win the battle and ending up losing the war, do you think, JP, there? Speed Queen trying to hold on with her teammate, unfortunately ended up relinquishing both positions.
I think it was probably on the cards, knowing the tyre difference.
Yeah.
15 laps, the age difference between Nipro and Speed Queen. Speed Queen's tyres are now going to be 24 laps old compared to Nipro's 9-lap old tyres. So you'd have to feel that was a bit of something that was going to happen at some point. But the bigger thing here is the Haas team, because Stefan 4 seconds behind Speed Queen.
Right.
Both Nipro, Speed Queen, 6 seconds worth of penalties. Right now, they're going behind Stefan. So Stefan, out of nowhere right now, could potentially be looking at a podium.
Absolutely, and that would be great for the constructors with Reshka out of the points. A double constructor points finish here for Haas will keep them in the fight till the final race against the championship leading Alpine team. Ghost is 2 seconds to the good ahead of Stinos, and with a little bit of ERS profit between them, despite the fact that he was trying to get away from this group. He has got 4 laps to hang on here, JP. I fancy his chances, but I think it's still going to be a nail-biter to the finish.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's one of those things. I think Stinos is going to probably catch Ghost, but as we say all the time, Ghost has that primary weapon back available to him.
Yeah.
And we know how many times Ghost has used that to win himself races and keep people behind.
Good evening to Renz, who joins us at the hour mark, but he's already deep into the analysis. Great to hear from you, Renz. We certainly missed your comments last week. I wonder if Gam is watching. I was advised by Speed Queen that I've been getting Gam's gender wrong all this time. Gam is actually Speed Queen's sister, so neither a robot nor a man. It is absolutely Speed Queen's sister who joins us. Gam, we haven't heard Go Speed Queen yet from Gam88. Let's see if Gam is watching. Nipro's challenge now. Can he manage to get Stinos or force Stinos into a track limit abuse error? He'll be trying to hang on to this podium, I'm sure, as we've got another battle further back. Felix against MDJ there, JP.
Yeah, I think what Nipro needs to do here, he just needs to kind of work with Stinos here, because he's not going to get Stinos even if he overtakes him. He needs Stinos to basically lose his front wing.
Yeah.
So his best bet at the moment, and he's on the fringe of it now, he needs to work with Stinos, stick with him, and break 6 seconds to Stefan, which Stinos with a 3-second time penalty.
Massive for the challenge in the lead. It was just scythed into by half a second, but Stinos pushing too hard, and in fact has gained himself a 3-second penalty. MDJ getting a little bit crossed up behind Felix there, not quite able to make it work, but the penalties adding up, and so far our champion driving clean and managing to stay ahead of this group. That is really put the cat among the pigeons for Stinos' chances of a victory here tonight. If Ghost's top speed and ERS deployment advantages were not enough. He's just put one hand behind his own back there, JP.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not what Stinos needed, not this late in the race as well. The later you do it, the worse you feel it, because you got less time to actually sort something out. I think if that happened about 7 laps ago, Stinos wouldn't have minded too much, because he's got that time to be able to get ahead and get the gap. But Nipro now will stay in 3rd place. He's got that 6-second gap to Stefan. However, Speed Queen only 5 seconds ahead currently. So this is going to be tight for Stefan on potentially gaining a place on penalties.
So Stinos, his only option now is to try and force Ghost into an error. Stinos has spent just about everything he's got in the ERS. Ghost sitting on, well, a lot, shall we say, to be kind here and not to give away too much in terms of his strategy. But Stinos making an absolute nuisance of himself on the way out of this corner. Ghost will press the button, I feel fairly sure here, to gap Stinos, or will he decide to relinquish the lead, knowing that there's this penalty delta between them, JP, as they go down the long straight, underneath the overpass, heading towards turn 17. Ghost claiming the inside line. Stinos going around the outside, trying the switchback. Ghost doesn't park it on the apex, tries to maximize his route on the way out, and holding on once again. They'll go side by side. They'll finish this one 2 laps. They'll be neck and neck.
Yeah, and the problem that Ghost has here is I'm not quite sure how many strikes he's got in terms of limits warnings, whereas when Stinos got that 3-second penalty, you get two free strikes again.
Right.
So it means he can try and maximize the circuit to once he's past Ghost, to try and maximise the time gain available to him to get that 3 seconds. Though it's getting harder and harder with 1 2/3 laps remaining. He needs to get past Ghost as soon as possible to be able to utilise that.
There is Ghost drifting away ever so slowly but surely with the ERS deployment, stretching the gap. Just managing the amount of ERS he deploys. Stinos leaning on the front axle on the brakes. That was so close, as he is very, very late on the brakes into turn 11. And round now, he'll have to follow Ghost. There's no hint of a gap or an overlap coming in this sector, and then Ghost will have the same opportunity again. Well, maybe 1 1/3 laps left to run, and it is Ghost leading Stinos by effectively 3.5 seconds, with Nipro a further 6.9 behind Stinos himself. Speed Queen in 4th, hanging on brilliantly in that 4th position. Stefan in 5th, and you can see now Ghost top speed and ERS coming to the fore, as I'm pretty sure Stinos has spent everything. They will cross the line now for the final lap of the race, and this is what Ghost is fighting for, the strongest winning record of all time in the top tier here in Invictus Racing League. A 10th win will take him clear and away, the record holder, and that we heard from him last week, that is absolutely in the forefront of his mind. We've only had 1 race this season without a Ghost on the podium, full stop, but he's going to go for win number 10 of 14 so far, 15 in total with the final race yet to come. But Ghost is 2/3 of a second to the good at this stage, JP.
Yeah, further down in the pack, Felix gets past Smoke, and MDJ at the end of that lap got past the Ferrari. Obviously, the Ferrari has not pitted yet. The big question is, can Felix reel in 3 seconds on Burmeister to try and claim Burmeister on penalties? I think that's going to be a bit of a tough ask for the Aston Martin to do. But Stefan now no longer inside Speed Queen's 6-second gap, meaning he will not gain any more positions if it were to finish in this way.
And Speed Queen is doing that on the same set of tyres she started the race. P4, 5 and 6, all on the same strategy, no stopping, as is Smoke, but it does appear to be the fastest way around this track to have stopped for intermediates. We'll keep an eye on those penalties, but Ghost is holding on here, all the pressure in the world as the gap closes down to half a second. Once again, Ghost makes it through the final overtaking position, and Ghost, with just the tiniest bit of track left to go in race 14, takes win number 10, a new record for Invictus Racing League top tier, and hats off and a round of applause, standing ovation to Ghost for what was the hardest battle I think he has raced all season long. Stinos in second, Nipro in third, and a great race from Speed Queen in fourth. Stefan takes fifth, Burmeister sixth to bring Haas well into contention for the constructors. Felix takes seventh with MDJ securing eighth place. Smoke up to ninth with a nice clean race from him, and Tirak taking the final points position. Will finish off the grid with Michael Lutka, Reshka, Luke Bailey coming through. I'll have a check on the position change overall. Smoke up 5 places, the strongest climb. Luke Bailey crosses the line to finish. ARL will be the last one across, some distance away after, as he said, being tapped from behind into the Nadgery section, as JP has named it. But JP, Ghost with win number 10.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for a more dominant season other than winning everything, to be honest. It's, yeah, fantastic drive from Ghost. He's put Stinos under pressure, made Stinos make the mistake of getting that 3 seconds to basically almost seal that battle. Yeah, very, very nice drive from all three at the top. And I think we have to commemorate the drivers here. No safety cars and no retirements in very tricky conditions on this new circuit.
Absolutely. Will the rest of the tiers this week live up to that kind of a billing? What a race we had on our hands there. I think we all came into Miami thinking, well, this is going to be a multiple safety car battle and a battle of attrition. But hats off to all the top tier drivers here at Invictus Racing League. Ghost, a familiar walk, terrible dance on the way to the podium. And for Alpine, takes win number 10 of the season. Any highlights you want to point out? Any drivers of the day from your perspective, JP?
Everyone. Yeah, I mean, what a show just been had. I mean, battles all the way through the field, and yeah, you can't complain about a race like that, especially when everyone finishes.
It just gets better and better. Even after the champion has been crowned this season, we are having fantastic races. JP, do us the honour of the final standings. Provisional standings, I should say. So,
provisional results of the Miami Grand Prix. It is Ghost with the record-breaking 10th victory of the season. And even Stinos couldn't stop him tonight as he comes home in second place. Nipro rounds out the podium with Speed Queen in fourth, the first of the no-stoppers. Stefan 5th, Burmeister 6th, Felix in 7th, MDJ is in 8th, Smoke in 9th, Tirak 10th, he's the last point scorer. Michael Lutka 11th, Reshka 12th, Luke Bailey 13th, and ARL rounds out the finishers and the whole grid in 14th place after what could be considered a little bit of a miserable race for him, but I'm sure he'll bounce back at Canada.
Definitely. Nobody lapped, everybody finishing, fantastic close racing throughout. My apologies to the drivers if we missed any of their battles, but the fight at the front, JP, was just something to behold all race long.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a three-way fight, and when Speed Queen got involved, I mean, all hell broke loose, let's face it. It allowed Nipro the opportunity to meddle with everything. Speed Queen was holding everyone up. Yeah, it was great. And looks, to be fair, at the front, all of it was very hard racing, which we like to see, but ultimately very fair at the same time. Yeah,
even better, because if someone punts another driver off, we are deprived of a race-long battle like that. Very fairly fought. I'm almost certain we will hear from Ghost. I'm fairly certain, unfortunately, we won't hear from Stinos and Nipro. They have invites, I'm sure, and we hope to speak to them. But yeah, if at all possible, we'd love to speak to Stinos and Nipro. Although I think last week they told us that both of them had broken microphones. Given that one of the drivers was being asked to join the party for the race team, I'm not sure it was necessarily completely true, or they've got a microphone now, so we'll try. But Ghost has joined us already. If you've got a question for Ghost or just plaudits, do drop it into the live chat and stay with us. But Ghost, you've done it. A race before you thought you might. You are the most victorious in a single season in the top tier of Invictus Racing League driver with 10 wins. You now hold the record. What an evening's racing that was.
I mean, what a way to get the record. Remember how I said last week was my best drive of the season? Yeah, nah. Nah, not anymore. My God, I don't know how I did that. Blimey, that was as soon as I saw 26-7 pop up in qualifying, I thought, okay, right, well, that's in sort of I don't care territory. He can go on and win. I'll just fight Nipro. But getting him at the start
Yeah.
was massive because my wet starts are usually really bad. So that was a really good one for me. And
Did you
getting
do
past
anything
him
different
there.
to do that today?
I just ran a little bit lower revs to when the lights were on.
Yeah.
Just about 500, 600 lower, and it seemed to work. So I'll try that again next time. But yeah, that was really crucial. And then keeping him behind, I don't know. I must have put up an invisible wall or something. I don't know how. He
Yeah.
didn't get past me on some of those laps. Oh my goodness. And then Speed Queen decided that she would make everything more difficult. She has every right to, and it was amazing racing. How we managed to go side by side through that chicane and not come out in tears, I do not know.
No.
Um,
That was the
wow.
hairiest
Okay.
moment. There was at one point where four of you looked to be claiming the same piece of tarmac into
Yeah.
turn 16.
Yeah.
It was hard enough for us as commentators to keep our eyes open at that point.
Yeah. It was, yeah. I was just praying in the cockpit and that I could keep it on the track and keep ahead. And then I think getting past Speed Queen eventually, and then she held up the other two behind her for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, it was long enough to build a 2-second gap, and that was again really big because I could save my ERS and have more than enough to defend with when Stenos eventually caught me back up because I knew he would. He is faster than me, but it's just wet conditions. He just it
Yeah.
made it easier for me to defend. With DRS, he would have been long gone. But yeah.
JP, what have you got for Ghost? Because it was a tremendous performance out there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we have to commend everyone for getting through without causing any safety cars. I mean, we were pretty certain there was going to be one, but when you were behind Speed Queen, also we briefly touched on it, goes, how frustrating was that? Because obviously you'd come out ahead of Stinos after the pits incredibly tight, and then in your mind, all you had to do was just make sure you kept Stinos behind, maybe build a couple of tenths gap just to help you, and then all of a sudden you had the other Red Bull planted in front of you, and a Red Bull and a McLaren chomping at the bit to get back past you.
Yeah, the pit exit was something. I saw him go past in the straight and thought, oh, he's got me. He's
Yeah.
undercut me easily. And then somehow I came out ahead of him, and I was okay. Its mindset changed back to I can win the race again, and because I knew if he got past me at any point, I would lose the race because
Wow.
he's just so much faster than me. But yeah, when I realized Speed Queen was going all the way, honestly, I kind of suspected it to begin with because Speed Queen always does things
Yeah.
like that.
Speed Queen doing Speed Queen things, I think. Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought, okay, right, well, I'm gonna have to get past her, but she should have much worse tires than me, so I don't think it'll be too hard. 15 laps later, but no, it was frustrating at some points when I thought I had her, and then she somehow managed to stay there and get back ahead. And
Yeah.
credit to her, she defended it really, really well. But
Were you
yeah,
aware at the
every
time she was doing that with 6 seconds of penalty as well?
Oh yeah, I saw the 6 seconds of penalties. So I was I was thinking, okay, well, no. To be fair to her, she wants to keep me behind as long as possible because her real rival was Nipro because he also had 6
Right.
seconds. So she had every right to defend as hard as she did. But yeah, it was just some points where she made a mistake, and I thought, right, I got her now, and then I didn't, just because it's so hard to carry that momentum in the wet when you've got a better line. The car in front of you makes just
And I
a bit
guess
of
with
a
everything to lose as well, and she has everything to gain in that situation. So you have to play with a certain amount of margin. Liftboot in the live chat asks, how high were your tyres? How highly worn were your tyres before the pits and towards the end of the race? Was a non-stop on for you?
I didn't check at the end. I was too busy. But before pitting, I remember on lap something like 12, they were at about 40%, so I would have never made it.
Wow.
Maybe 40, like 36 or something, but something like that. Enough that I wouldn't have made it. So the people who did make it to the end, I think Smoke did, Reshka said, and Speed Queen obviously.
And both Haas's as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Really, they both did it as well. Oh wow, credit to them. That's an amazing stint. Because I wouldn't have done that.
Mentioning Haas, I know JP's been very closely monitoring the Constructors' Championship. JP.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've kind of got one hand on that Constructors' Trophy because you're now 24 points ahead of Haas. Even though they had a double point score, you still outscored them by 4 points, which is very handy for yourselves. So Alfa Romeo completely out of the picture with no drivers unfortunately being there tonight. So 24 points. I mean, granted, it's not over until it's over, but I mean, you've got to be confident for yourself and Reshka that if at least one of you can finish and have a decent finish, that you can seal that in the last round at Canada.
Yeah, it's a shame about Delange that he couldn't connect to the lobby. I hope he manages to sort that out. But big buffer to us, obviously. And then I think Reshka said just after the race, he worked it out. I think they need a 1-2, and for us to score less than 3 or 3 or less or something like that.
That would be correct.
Yeah. So it's. Yeah, like you say, one hand, but we don't want to tempt fate. We just want to do our best in Canada, act like we're not, 22 points ahead, act like it's any other race, or try to, and see how it goes. And just, that's all we need to do. So.
Well, that's tremendous work. You've got every chance then of extending the record to 12 wins. To 11 wins in the final race of the season. But Ghost, hats off to you today. Tremendous performance. You gave us a real treat watching it, and I hope you enjoy watching it back later. Thanks to everybody who has contributed to a fantastic night's racing, both on track and in the chat, and as well on the admin side of the league. Special mention going out to Delange there for his failure to attend tonight. That was a crying shame. Would have loved to have seen the Alfa Romeos on track as well. But JP and myself, Webbo, had a fantastic night. My voice needs a rest. I don't know about you guys, but from all of us here at Invictus Racing League, please join in with the remaining races this week. Of course, F2 tomorrow, F3 Wednesday, and Realistic Performance and PC on Thursday night. But from us here at the top tier of Invictus Racing League, thank you very much, everyone, and we will all catch you on the next race day.